snapped after my family constantly mocked him and did this. Reddit, a longtime lurker on here, but this is actually my first time posting. I've never been one to share my personal life publicly, but this situation has been weighing on me heavily, and I need to get it off my chest. My husband seems to be done with me. He doesn't want to listen to me, he has blocked me, and he isn't home right now. So, I really don't know what to do. My name is Donna, and my husband's name is Ryan. I'm 27, and Ryan is 28. We've been married for about 2 years, but we've been together since high school. Here's a bit of background just so you understand things from my side. Ryan has always been a bit of an introvert. He's the kind of guy who prefers quiet evenings at home over loud family gatherings. Despite this, he's always made an effort to join me with my family because he knows how much family means to me. Ryan has always been a bit squeaky and weak, for lack of better terms. He's been a great spouse, helping with domestic chores, managing the bills, and being the main provider of our home. I work as a freelance graphic designer, which can be quite unpredictable. Sometimes I can go weeks without getting a job, so Ryan has been carrying most of the financial load without ever complaining. Ryan has always been the one to give and give without taking, and I have always been the one to take and take without giving anything. I only realize this now that I have lost him. They say you never know what you have until it's gone, and I now believe it wholeheartedly. I grew up in a very tight-knit family, which I now realize is absolute bullshit. My family has always believed in putting the family first and doing everything for the family. They believe that no matter what anyone does to you, as long as they are family, you should suck it up and take it without complaining. And I know that it's absolutely wrong, but I've been taught this from childhood, so it became ingrained in my personality. For example, one of my uncles has done horrible things and has been in jail multiple times. He should even be in jail now, but my family has refused to report him for some of the very evil and vile things he has done because he is family. So we still get to see him every time. I also know it's not an excuse, but another thing is that my family has always been really traditional. They believe that a man should be the husband, the provider, and the head of the house, while the woman is supposed to be less important and more passive. So when Ryan didn't fit this traditional view, they saw him as weak. To them, a real man is someone who's strong, assertive, and in control. Ryan's willingness to share household responsibilities and be supportive didn't fit this idea, so they didn't respect him for it. That was why they always joked about him being more of a housewife and not being manly enough. I grew up with these traditional beliefs myself, so I didn't really see how unfair it was until it was too late. I allowed my family's views to affect how I treated Ryan. Instead of standing up for him and appreciating him for who he was, I let their comments slide and didn't defend him. Ryan was and has been an absolutely amazing husband to me. He would always plan these romantic Friday night dates, always take out time for me, and always shouldered everything without complaining. He had always wanted kids young, but I didn't want them very early. He didn't complain and said we could have kids whenever I wanted. Ryan was great, but the thing is, my family, upon noticing how squeaky, scrawny, and weak Ryan was, seemed to see him as prey. My family's behavior towards Ryan has always been condescending. They would make snide comments about how he's not manly enough, how he's too nice, and how he lets me walk all over him. They would say these things jokingly, but I could see the effect it had on Ryan. I, however, brushed it off, thinking he would get over it. I mean, it was just a joke, right? There was this one time when we had a family barbecue. Ryan was helping out in the kitchen, as usual, while the rest of the men were outside, grilling and drinking beers. My brother, Mike, made a comment about how Ryan should be wearing an apron and a dress. Everyone laughed, including me. I didn't think much of it, but I noticed Ryan's smile falter. He didn't say anything, but I could tell he was hurt. I should have said something, but I didn't. I just let it slide. Another time, during a family game night, my cousin Lisa asked Ryan if he ever got tired of being my servant. Everyone laughed again, and I laughed too, thinking it was all in good fun. Ryan didn't laugh, though. He just sat there, looking down at his hands. I ignored it, thinking he would just brush it off like he always did. These instances became more frequent, and Ryan became more withdrawn. He stopped planning our Friday night dates, he stopped helping around the house as much, and he started spending more time at work. I didn't realize it then, but he was slowly pulling away from me. Looking back now, I can see how I let my family's toxic behavior destroy my marriage. Ryan always gave without expecting anything in return, while I took him for granted. I laughed along with my family's hurtful jokes, never standing up for him, and now I think I've lost the best thing that ever happened to me. I guess the turning point came during another family gathering. We were celebrating my mother's birthday, and as usual, Ryan was being his helpful self. My Uncle Joe, known for his crude humor, made a comment about how Ryan was more of a housewife than I was. Everyone laughed, including me. I noticed Ryan's face tighten, but he didn't say anything. Later that night, I found him sitting alone on the back porch. He looked defeated. I asked him what was wrong, and he finally opened up. He told me how hurtful my family's comments were, how he felt disrespected and humiliated every time we were around them. He said he felt like he was constantly being judged and found lacking. I tried to comfort him, telling him they were just jokes and he shouldn't take them seriously. But he looked at me with sadness and said that they weren't just jokes. That's how they really saw him. Then he asked me if that was how I saw him too. That hit me hard. At that moment, I realized how I had failed to stand up for him. I had laughed along with the jokes and never defended him. I should have apologized, but instead I dismissed his feelings, saying it was all just jokes and that it wasn't my family's fault he couldn't take a joke. Ryan looked at me. He was surprised and hurt, but then he just shook his head and said he didn't know how much more he could take. From that day on, Ryan became even more distant. He started working late more often, spending less time at home, and when he was home, he was quiet and withdrawn. I knew things were bad, but I still didn't do anything to change it. I thought he would eventually get over it, that things would go back to normal. But instead, the gap between us grew wider. The emotional distance that started with those jokes evolved into a full-blown rift. My attempts to dismiss his feelings as overreactions only pushed him further away. Despite my growing awareness of the damage my family's behavior had caused, I continued to allow their toxic influence to overshadow our relationship. I now see how much I've hurt him, not just through my family's comments, but through my failure to stand up for him and my own dismissive attitude. Ryan gave, and I took and took, never fully appreciating or reciprocating his kindness. The best thing I could have done at that moment was to stand up for Ryan and let him know I was on his side. Instead, my ego and stubbornness got in the way. I convinced myself that my family's jokes were harmless and that if Ryan couldn't take them, it was his fault. I kept dragging him to family events, even when he suggested staying home. I refused to listen to his feelings and insisted he come with me, even throwing tantrums to make sure he attended. Forcing him to go to these events only made things worse. Every gathering felt like another chance for my family to make him feel small and disrespected. I didn't realize how much my actions were hurting him. I should have been standing up for him, not pushing him into situations where he felt uncomfortable and humiliated. Ryan needed my support in more than just words. I should have backed him up and faced the reality of my family's behavior. My failure to do that drove a bigger wedge between us. I lost someone who gave so much and asked for so little, all because I couldn't see past my own pride and the desire to keep up appearances. I also foolishly believed that Ryan loved me too much to leave. I thought that everything would eventually go back to normal, and that we'd get over our problems. I convinced myself that our bond was unbreakable, and no matter what, he would always stay with me. But I was wrong. As Ryan grew more distant from me, he grew closer to someone else, our new neighbor, ironically. She had just moved into the neighborhood, and we were among her first friends. At first, I thought it was just natural for Ryan to bond with her since they had a lot in common and shared interests. I didn't suspect anything because I thought Ryan loved me too much to ever consider leaving. I figured their growing friendship was harmless. But as Ryan withdrew from me, he spent more and more time at her place. I told myself it was just friendly visits and that nothing more was happening. However, looking back, I should have noticed the signs. The way she treated Ryan and how quickly their friendship grew made it clear that something was off. Ryan must have confided in her about how he felt, and she might have been the one to encourage him to leave me. The final straw came at my cousin's baby shower. It was a fun event, and everyone enjoyed themselves. Afterward, we decided to continue hanging out as nobody was eager to leave. My cousin's friends had left, leaving just us and our family. We were having drinks and chatting, and Ryan was helping clean up the mess from the shower. My brother, as usual, made a snide comment, telling Ryan he should learn how to be a man from him. Everyone laughed, and I saw Ryan look at me, expecting me to say something, but I was at a loss for words and stayed silent. Ryan's frustration boiled over. He stood up, walked straight to me, and announced right in front of everyone that he was done. He said he couldn't tolerate our disrespect and the way we treated him. He told me that he loved me, which was why he had tried so hard to fit in, but he couldn't stay in a place where he felt like the only sane person among a madhouse. He said he was tired of being disrespected, tired of being treated like a joke, and tired of being taken for granted. He said he couldn't do it anymore. He said he was leaving. My family was stunned. Ryan had never stood up to us before, so they were stunned. I tried to calm him down, but he was resolute. He said he was leaving, that he'd be packing his things from our shared apartment, and that I shouldn't contact him until he sent me divorce papers. I was in shock. I tried to laugh it off, thinking he was joking, but he wasn't smiling. He said he was serious. He said he was done with me, done with my family, and done with being treated like a doormat. With that, he walked out and drove off. I was left in shock. I was in shock for a few minutes after Ryan left. I honestly didn't see it coming. My family, once they got over their surprise, were just silent. They didn't know what to say to me and eventually started getting up to leave. I ordered an Uber to take me back home. When I got to the apartment, I found it was almost empty. Ryan had already cleared out everything that belonged to him, which meant about 80% of what was in the apartment. I tried calling him, but he wouldn't pick up. I checked our joint account and saw that he had withdrawn all the money, leaving only a small amount for me. It was clear he took almost everything, but I couldn't blame him. Most of the money in that account was his anyway. Even though I hated how it turned out, I knew he was just taking what was rightfully his. It's been a week now, and there's still no word from Ryan. I've been holed up in the apartment, barely doing anything or even leaving the house. I'm so lost and confused. He won't respond to my messages or calls, and I don't know what to do next. I'm just so exhausted and overwhelmed by everything. Update. Hey Reddit. Wow, the backlash has been intense. I kind of expected it, though. I'm not completely new to Reddit, and I know how harsh it can be to someone who's in the wrong. I've received a lot of comments calling me an asshole and insisting that my marriage is beyond repair, advising me to just sign the divorce papers. I've also gotten some pretty nasty DMs, which I don't even have words for right now. I'm just so numb and overwhelmed that I don't know how to respond to these messages or comments. I'm disappointed because I asked for advice, but most of what I got was people telling me to lawyer up and end my marriage. I don't really have much of an update, and I hope I'm even doing this right. This isn't my first time on Reddit, but it's my first time posting, so I'm still figuring out how this all works. I found out where my husband went. He's been staying at our neighbor's place. I can't believe it took me almost 2 weeks to find this out, but I've been so isolated in the apartment, barely leaving. When I confronted my neighbor, she refused to let me see him, and my neighbor threatened to call the police if I didn't leave. I'm furious, and I sent a lot of angry messages to Ryan that I now regret. I'm still in shock and just trying to process everything. My family hasn't reached out much, which is both surprising and not. I guess I always thought family would come first, but I've had to confront that idea now. I did contact my parents, and they're shocked too. They've tried to reach out to Ryan to apologize, and so have several other family members, but he hasn't responded to any of them. It's been a rough realization that the whole idea of family first didn't really hold up in this situation. I also spoke to my landlord, who confirmed that Ryan had contacted him about breaking the lease. There's no way I can afford the apartment on my own, not even with a roommate. I'm just a struggling freelancer and don't have any jobs lined up right now. I hate to admit it, but my freelancing career isn't doing well. I'll probably have to rely on my parents for financial help until I can get my bearings. Looking back, it's clear that my family's outdated ideas made Ryan feel like an outsider and pushed him away. I thought he should just tough it out, but that only made things worse. Now I see that the real issue was not Ryan being different, but my failure to stand up for him and support him against their judgment. That's all I have for now. I'm exhausted, overwhelmed, and feeling incredibly lost. I just wanted to give an update since I have nothing else to do right now. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. Things have been really tough over the past few weeks, and I wish I had better news to share. But I guess this will make you guys happy as it. Seems my misery is the only thing of interest, and honestly, I don't blame anyone for feeling that way. I've brought this on myself. I finally managed to get in touch with my husband, or should I say ex-husband, since it's clear he's made up his mind. I sent him a long apology letter through WhatsApp. He hadn't blocked me, but he hadn't been replying either. I took a chance, and luckily he did get back to me. He came over to the house, and I have to admit, he looked well, better and more confident than I've seen him in a long time. I made us some coffee and we talked. I'm not going to bore you with all the details. It was a standard conversation. I apologized profusely, and he told me he had forgiven me, but he wasn't coming back. He said our marriage had ended a long time ago, but it took him a while to fully accept it. He told me my family were monsters, and he wasn't interested in their half-hearted apologies. I tried to plead with him, hoping he might reconsider, but he remained firm. He said he was done and that nothing would change his mind. When I asked about the cheating rumors, he told me he hadn't been unfaithful. He and Ashley, our neighbor who I've decided to name for clarity, hadn't done anything romantic until after he left. He admitted they might have had an emotional affair because he confided in her a lot. So, that's it. My marriage is officially over, and I'm just waiting for the divorce papers to be served. My husband doesn't want me anymore, and I feel a mix of anger and self-loathing. I hate my family for how they treated him, and I hate that Reddit was right about everything. Update. Hey Reddit, it's me again. I finally got served the divorce papers yesterday, and let me tell you, it's been a whirlwind of emotions. I've gone from anger to hatred to self-loathing, back to anger, and then to sadness, despair, and even a bit of depression. All in just 2 days, haha. It's been overwhelming. First, for those who actually care about my financial situation and asked about my plans, here's an update. I'm still struggling to find a solid job. I don't have any projects lined up at the moment, but I'm desperately searching for work. My parents had initially agreed to help me, but after I exploded on them, I'm not sure if they'll still come through. If I can't find a job soon, I'll probably have to move back into their house, though I'm not thrilled about that idea. After getting served, I was absolutely furious, beyond angry. I took my phone and let loose in the family group chat. I told them I hated them, blamed them for the end of my marriage, and aired out everything I had been holding in for so long. I even sent a voice note so they could really hear my frustration. I regretted it later, but I didn't delete it. I felt like I needed to stand up for myself, and I was done with my family's control over me. The group chat has been chaotic ever since, but no one has reached out to me personally, not even my parents. I guess they're feeling a bit guilty now. Maybe they're realizing they went too far, just like I did. So, that's where I am right now. I'll be signing the divorce papers quietly and letting my husband go because he deserves that. This whole mess is my fault, and it's clear he's happier without me, even though it pains me to admit it. I know it might seem silly to turn Reddit into some kind of diary, but I don't have many other outlets right now. I'm just filled with anger and hatred toward my family, and most of all toward myself. Update. Hey Reddit, it's been months since I last posted, and I'm sure many of you have noticed. My story has circulated everywhere, on social media, best of Redditor updates, and even in some weird Minecraft videos with terrible voiceovers. The comments have been overwhelmingly negative, accusing me of being a narcissist, blaming me for everything, and saying I deserve all the backlash. It's been a lot to process. I decided to take a break from social media, which has surprisingly been beneficial. It helped me regain some clarity and peace of mind, but I felt like I owed it to you all to provide one last update. Plus, everyone I know seems to have stumbled upon my posts. My parents reached out to me about it, and I had to admit it was me because at that point, it was no longer a secret. My cousins even shared my Reddit post in a family group chat, and it blew up again. Some family members were critical, saying I shouldn't have aired our personal issues online, but I told them it was my choice and my matter to handle. My ex-husband also found the post. He sent me a link, and though I was embarrassed, I admitted that the post was about us. I wanted clarity and guidance, and while I didn't get much advice, it did serve as an outlet for my emotions, So yes, everyone's seen it and I'm past caring. People still send me links, but I only respond to those I want to and ignore the rest. As for the divorce, it's finalized. It went much faster than I expected. I always thought divorces took years, but since we both wanted it, despite my reluctance, it was quick. We didn't have any major assets or debts to split, and most of the money in our joint account was my ex-husband's, which he had already split. The process was relatively straightforward, and we didn't own any property together. I cried in the courtroom, and it was humiliating. My ex didn't console me, and I felt utterly helpless and depressed for a long time, but eventually I realized I had to move forward. The past is the past. I've thrown myself into work and managed to secure a few freelance gigs, so I don't have to move back in with my parents. It's been tough, and I'm scraping by, but I can manage my rent. I'm still searching for a smaller, more affordable apartment and a day job. Living close to my ex has been challenging. I don't see him every day, but I do see him often, which is painful. I just want to move on and find a place where I can live independently. This update is a bit rushed because I'm exhausted, but I wanted to share where I'm at. Writing here has been a sort of diary for me, and it's helped. I'm considering therapy to help with everything I've been through. Thank you to those who've reached out and offered support. I genuinely appreciate it.
It's not easy to find out that you've been lied to. It's heartbreaking when that person turns out to be your partner for 10 years. I, 37, male, and have been married to my wife, 36, female. We have been married for 10 years. We are both working professionals in the IT sector, and we have no children. Me and my wife have been happily married for 10 years, but since the last few months, my wife has started acting differently. At first, I thought maybe I was overthinking, but as time passed, it all became too obvious to ignore. We work for different companies, but our offices are in the same area. We have the same lunchtime, and we used to go for lunches together quite a few times. Our colleagues also used to accompany us sometimes. My wife stopped coming to lunch with me 6 months ago. At first, she told me she's busy with work. Then her boss called an emergency meeting. I let it go in the beginning, thinking these were genuine reasons. She started coming home late as well. The reasons were the same. Since we're in the field, I understood that the workload could be heavy. My assumptions were confirmed when she was typing something on her phone at dinner one day. I pulled her phone from her grasp to set it aside, since we don't allow phones to be used during dinner. She became terrified and stood up to get her phone. Nothing like this has ever happened before. Since the start of our relationship, we both believed that trust didn't require us to share our passcodes. If we truly trust each other, we don't have to keep tabs on what the person is doing. Till that day, I never even felt the need to check her phone. She told me she was just texting her sister because her sister had a bad day at work. I told her that I got it, and we kept eating our food without talking. What she did made me feel bad. Being scared wasn't necessary if it was just her sister. There was a problem, but I couldn't just tell her that. This time, I knew she would come up with another excuse. I did not know what to do. As she went to sleep that night, I kept thinking about what she could be hiding from me. In our entire marriage, we've been there for each other through thick and thin, and suddenly she's acting differently.
Hey everyone. Unfortunately, basically everyone who is watching these videos isn't subscribed. It would mean the world to me to quickly get out of the full screen video for 3 seconds and press that subscribe button. It's free, and you can unsubscribe anytime. Sorry for bothering, and thank you so much if you subscribed.
I thought I'd just talk to her in the morning. It's better to communicate rather than come to conclusions by myself. When I woke up the next morning, my wife was not in bed with me. The washroom was also empty. It was not like her to wake up before me. I looked for her in the kitchen, in the garden, but she was nowhere to be found in the house. I got worried. I called her, but she didn't pick up. Just as I was leaving the house to look for her, she came back. Her cheeks were flushed because of the cold. I asked her where she went so early in the morning. She told me she couldn't sleep, so she went for a walk in the park near our house. She kissed me and then went inside to make coffee for us. Just as we were getting inside, I heard a car start up nearby. It was quite loud. I don't usually hear this sound in my neighborhood. Just as the engine started, I saw my wife getting tense, but she covered it up instantly. When I got in my car to go to work, I couldn't stop thinking about my wife. I had no idea what was going on. John, my friend, was also coming out of his house. His little kid was holding on tight to his arms. He waved back when I did. I was going to leave, but I stopped to talk to him for a while instinctively. It's been a while since we spoke. When I asked him what was going on in his life, he told me something that really shocked me. John takes his son to the neighborhood park every night, but it was closed for maintenance. My wife told me she went for a walk in this park in the morning. That really nailed it to the wall. My wife lied to me. I went back home instead of going to work. I had to find out what she was keeping from me. I looked through her closet for something, but there was nothing there. To say I was frustrated would be an understatement. My wife's laptop was left on the table. I turned it on and checked her email. It did not contain anything. I looked over a few more things but didn't find anything. Another shock of the day came just as I was about to turn it off. This one was 10 times bigger. She got an email at her company's mail. I didn't check her work email because I didn't think there would be anything there, but there was. My wife had received a random email to meet her in a cafe really far from the office. The email address didn't have a name. It was just a random username. This person had emailed her just the location and time. It felt quite secretive. This did not make sense to me. Why was my wife meeting this person? Why did she lie to me in the morning? There are so many questions and no one to answer them. It's been 10 years since we got married, and I thought we were quite happy together. I could have asked my wife, but why would she tell me honestly when she lied to me in the morning? Her actions had planted a seed of doubt in my head. One that wasn't going to go away until I figured out what was going on. I decided it's better to stay quiet and wait till the evening. I wanted to know if she told me truthfully that she's meeting someone or fed me more lies. I didn't have to wait for long. She called me in the evening, telling me that she had to work late for an office meeting her boss had scheduled. I couldn't shake off the uneasy feeling. It was the second lie my wife had told me today. When did my marriage reach this phase when we started lying to each other? I decided it's best to follow her and see for myself who she's meeting. I went to her office just in time to see her leaving. In her car. My heart was pounding in my chest as I quietly trailed behind her car. Her car wound its way through the city while I followed her discreetly. She reached the location mentioned in the email. The lights of the cafe cast a warm aura on the sidewalk. I parked my car a safe distance away, hidden in the shadows. I watched her enter the cafe with a soft smile on her lips. My stomach churned when she hugged a man who stood up as she entered. I was frozen while another man was embracing my wife. My mind raced. How long has she been lying to me? I thought of the moments when I held her in my arms and she told me how happy she was with me. Was all that a lie too? I could have gone inside and demanded an explanation. But I decided against it. I thought it'd be best to let her continue this ruse. I wanted to see how many more lies she fed me while lying in the same bed with me. I wanted to see what else would happen with this mysterious man. I followed her back to our home. I waited near our home after she reached home to get inside. She welcomed me with a sweet smile, like it was completely normal to come home after lying to your husband. I wanted to ask her why she'd been lying to me. I wanted her to look me in the eye and tell me that it was nothing. I wanted her to soothe the thoughts of betrayal swirling in my head. But I couldn't because I knew that she wouldn't tell me the truth. I continued my surveillance. I followed her when she went for lunch with this man and fed me lies about her hectic work schedule or something else. For a week, I saw her meeting this man and having meals together. They hugged each other and then went their way. I did not know what to make of this. If she wasn't doing anything wrong, why was she lying to me? I didn't have to wonder for long, because one afternoon, when she told me that she's stuck in a meeting, she was actually on her way to a very fancy hotel on the other side of the city. I followed her. I thought maybe she's just having lunch with him in the restaurant, but my heart broke into a million pieces when the mystery guy entwined their hands and they went to a room together. I couldn't control myself anymore. I knocked on their door. The mystery guy opened the door shirtless. I saw my wife lying in bed, waiting for him. The smile disappeared from her face when she saw me standing on the other side of the door. I felt like I lost everything in that single moment. I didn't say anything to either of them. Consumed by heartbreak, I left the hotel and made my way home. I sat on the couch in the living room. My thoughts overwhelmed me. I felt a mix of anger, heartbreak, and confusion all at once. I don't know how long I sat there when the front door opened and my wife came in. She panicked, that was visible. "You don't have to lie to me anymore," I told her quietly as I wiped my tears. I didn't have the energy to listen to any more of her lies. She came and sat beside me. When I thought she wouldn't say anything, I was about to get up. "I'm sorry," she whispered. I asked her how long this has been going on. I wasn't even sure if I wanted to know the answer to that question, but I had to know. She told me it started 8 months ago when she went out of town for a work conference. She met this guy who used to work in that branch of their company. We were just friends in the beginning. She told me with a shaky voice. I asked her to continue, knowing my heart wouldn't be able to take what was coming next. She told me that they got drunk on the last day of the conference, and the desire for excitement led them to bed together. She told me that she felt very guilty the next morning and decided it would never happen again as both of them were married. She came home and lost contact with him, but when he was transferred here 6 months ago and they started working together, one thing led to another, and they couldn't stop themselves from starting the affair again. She told me it all just began as a yearning for something different. As she told me how she went behind my back and lied to me, my trust shattered. She went to meet him that morning when she told me she had gone to park, and he dropped her off in his car. I was devastated. I thought I knew my wife well, but she had been leading a double life all along. The entire foundation of my marriage crumbled beneath me. I went through the day with a blur of emotions. I was not in any condition to make any decision. I asked my wife to give me some space. We lived in the same house without talking to each other. I did not know whether to salvage our marriage or walk away from this betrayal. My wife kept telling me that she's sorry and asked for forgiveness. She told me that she has ended her affair and we can seek counseling, but I felt like my wounds were too deep. Even though the betrayal broke my heart, we went to counseling together. I thought maybe we could still salvage our relationship. We went through various counseling sessions, but I couldn't escape the image ingrained in my head of that day of that hotel room. Who knew how many times they went to some hotel while I waited for her in our home? Our therapist urged us to communicate with each other, but I just couldn't shake the hurt and betrayal she had caused me. The trust one placed in her was irreparably broken. Counseling didn't help in subsiding my pain. The pain was too raw to handle. I decided it'd be best to walk away from this toxic situation. We sat down, and I told her that I could not be with her anymore. Tears streamed down her face, but she had to face the consequences of her actions. I cannot shield her from the result of her own doings. She told me that she'd move out of the house. I didn't stop her, as it was best for her to stay away. I sat in the yard as she said goodbye. Movers came in to take her luggage. I saw all of it happening in front of my eyes. I saw as my marriage of 10 years ended in front of my eyes. She left it to me to decide when I had to file for divorce. After she moved out, I went through my days numb, too overwhelmed by the emotions. I kept thinking if this was my fault, maybe I could have done something so she didn't feel the need to go somewhere else. I continued my counseling sessions. Even though my marriage failed, I still wanted to soothe the pain in my chest. It took time, but the sessions helped me understand that it wasn't my fault for what happened in our marriage. My counselor suggested that I find new hobbies. I didn't have the mental energy to try anything initially. With a little push, I started finding interest in new things. I started picking up hobbies I had neglected while I was busy with my marriage life. It was difficult, but it felt peaceful to start rebuilding my life again. The pain started to subside with time. We filed for divorce on mutual agreement. She told me that she was deeply sorry for the hurt she had caused me and was willing to wait for my forgiveness. "I hope we can at least be friends again," she said. I told her that maybe, with time, we could be friends. We started our separate journey for self-discovery. We navigated through divorce and separation while finding our path to healing. Being alone after 10 years of marriage was oddly different. The home felt too empty to be alone. It felt strange not to have plans with someone. I started taking care of my mental health and physical health. I started reconnecting with my old friends. I never had the heart to tell them about my wife's affair. I didn't want to paint her image in a bad light. I still had a sense of loyalty to her. Our divorce proceedings went quite smoothly, and we parted ways forever. It was clear to me that we could not be together again. I didn't think that I could be with someone again. I didn't just give 10 years to our marriage, I gave all of me. While my wife went out to seek excitement, I was busy thinking about our future. My trust cannot be repaired, and my heart is too broken to fall in love again. I hope that everyone reading my story understands the importance of trust in any relationship. A single lie can unravel the strongest of bonds. I ran into my wife 6 months later in the grocery store. We both ran into each other when we were getting hot chocolate in the same aisle. Seeing her after all this time didn't cause me as much as it did in the beginning. The counseling sessions were worth it, I thought in my head. "We got divorced, and you finally started drinking hot chocolate," I said to her teasingly. I loved hot chocolate, but she never liked it. "It reminded me of you," she said with a smile, which seemed like she missed our marriage life. I smiled at her, and we left her there. "Wanna have it together?" she asked quite hesitantly. I was about to decline, but maybe I needed to see if I could survive in her company without my chest hurting. I smiled and told her sure. We made our way to a nearby cafe, this time she followed my car. We ordered 2 hot chocolates and had small talks. Strangely enough, it felt oddly nice to talk to her without any hurt or pain. She has broken all the promises we made to each other. My trust cannot be repaired again, but I wasn't going to let that dictate me for the rest of my life. I think in my heart I had forgiven her, but forgiving her didn't mean I was going to place my trust in her again. That ship had sailed when she went to bed with another man. My fear of another betrayal still sits with me. It will take time to finally let go of it. I was just going through one day at a time, it was the advice my counselor gave me, and it really worked. I just hope, with time, I can let that fear go completely.